Hi everyone, I'm Pedro Luferson and yep, today we're talking about the Gen 10 starters for the next Pokemon games, Pokemon Winds and Waves. In this video I'm just gonna share my opinions about the starters, if they work as a trio, and a few theories. All that while showing a time-lapse of an illustration that I made. Let's go? To be clear, out of the bag, I liked all of them. In different intensities of course, but I like all of them. I think they are all good designs. My favorite is Gekwa by far. I think it is so cute, and I think from these three starters, it's the one that has the most personality of them all. I think they all look cute in their own ways, but the thing is, I don't think they work as a trio. What I mean by that is that, like, if you were to pick three Pokemons from like the hundreds that we have right now, I don't necessarily think that these three belong together in a way that I'm gonna explain. Even though they look cute individually, I feel like they were made by three different artists that were designing Pokemons for three different generations. Like, they all look cute, they all look adorable, but they just don't have enough similarities to say, these three are the same trio for sure. No. For the safe comparison, I'm gonna talk about the trio of Pokemon, starter Pokemons that I think has the best design in a way that's cohesive, and the three of them are so perfect to each other. I'm talking about Gen 3, Torchic, Mudkip, and Trico. I think this is the best design of a Pokemon trio ever made so far. Without making this whole video about them, I'm gonna say their shapes are fairly similar even though the proportions are completely different, but like they have similar elements like Trico and Mudkip's tail that is big and has a lot of silhouette, the little elements of colors that they share, for example, the fin on top of Mudkip's head and the feathers on top of Torchic's head, the way their color palette connects with the orange on Mudkip cheeks, the red on Trico's belly, and the whole orange body of Torchic. The colors are not too saturated, the shapes are not too bold and different from each other. Their facial features are not completely different, like they have little dots for one, a beak for the other, but the actual proportion of their facial features are very similar actually. There are not many things that connect the three of them at the same time, but like there are individual characteristics that you can connect, like Mudkip to Torchic, Torchic to Trico, and Trico to Mudkip, and this as a whole make their designs have a very nice conversation and kind of between the lines saying we are from the same team, we are the same unity in a way, even though they have obviously very different features. Now I wish I could say the same about the Gen 10 starters. Again, they all look cute, but they just don't have a conversation design-wise with each other, you know? As I said, my favorite one is Gekwa, in second place I would put Braut, and in third place, Ponbon. Again, they all look nice, but they are very different. Like, Gekwa has a huge head, and like, I'm not saying it to make fun of it, I'm just talking about the features of each one of them. I'm not making fun of his huge head. But like, it has a huge head, a very thick tail, and very thin limbs, not to mention the very big eyes. It has a lot of marks in its body to imitate like a pattern on a lizard, which is nice, and it has a nice variety of blues, like a dark blue and a light blue and a middle blue. That's very nice. And talking about the colors, I like that it does have a pinky shade because it's nice to get out of the standard palette of each type sometimes. I think it's a very good thing to do actually. I think it's inevitable to compare it to the previous lizard we have just 2 generations ago, which is Swablu, and I think Gekwa is much better than Swablu. Swablu isn't bad, but like, I think its limbs are too thin, like they are just like almost like stick figure limbs, you know? I'm not a biggest fan of that. I think the only thing I would change is its huge head. I think like it's not a bad thing, but not necessarily the thing I would go to if I were designing it, but that's okay. And last but not least, its eyelashes, which I think are going to have a huge impact and presence when it evolves. They give you like a cute, smart vibe, like they are gossiping about you once you leave the room, which is not necessarily the nicest thing, but like it gives it a lot of personality. Like Braut is a nervous and clumsy one, and Ponbon doesn't have a clue, he's just a dog, but Gekwa, it knows everything about everyone. Well, now let's talk about Braut, which I think it's very adorable. It's basically a Rowlet but different, which I admit I'm a little biased because I really like Rowlet. I think it's the best design of starter Pokemon ever made, not my favorite, but the best. It's a bit repetitive, but I'm honestly okay. I think it's cute. I think I miss when starters have leaves on, which is a bit silly, but I like when grass starters have leaves on them. I like when they have plants on them actually. And there are a lot of comparison with Braut and the Angry Birds, which I see why, because yeah, it looks like an Angry Bird, but it's just its eyebrows. If you look at its eyes, they're just wide open. It's not actually mad, but the comparisons are very fun. Now for my least favorite starter of this trio, Ponbon. It's cute, it's nice, but it's too simple. I just think it's too simple. Much like Sprigatito with the previous generation, I think it's just a cat, it's just a dog, and Pondbone, even more than Sprigatito, it's really just a dog with red and orange fur. And I know you can say that about a lot of Pokemon, just regular animals with different color, etc, but you know what I mean. Like, I think Pondbone is far too simple. It's the comparisons with the Pomeranian are so on point because it looks so much like a Pomeranian because it is a Pomeranian, but it looks too much like a regular Pomeranian. And that's a good hook to start the comparison between the three starters. Again, they look like they were made by three different artists. They are so different from each other, like excessively different. Like individually they look nice, but they don't have like a conversation going on between their designs. You can argue that Gekwa and Broud have similar features, like they have similar cartoonish proportions, but I think these are enough to make them look like they belong in the same trio. But by far, Pondbone is the one that feels most out of place than all of them. I think that the one thing that says across the trio that we don't belong together is the proportion of their bodies, and the amount of details in each one of them. Like, Broud is basically a single blob, Gekwa has very distinguished limbs and part of its body showing up in its silhouette, but like Pondbone's face, like its whole face, like mouths and eyes, it all fits just one of Gekwa's eyes because its face is so small and its eyes are so big. It is such a discrepancy that I think that's the thing that make them look not that like they belong in the same trio. Not to mention that I feel like Pondbone has so few details in its body to make it stand out, like in comparison to Gekwa that it's so many things going on, things that I like. It makes it like it's just there. It's just there, you know? And it just came up to me that if we were to create a fusion between Torchic and Rowlet, it would look very much like Broud actually. Like, on Torchic's side is a bird incapable to fly with very thin legs and stubby wings and feathers on the top of its head. And on Rowlet's side is a grass type with like the leaves type turns into the leaf eyebrows. No, it's a very good fusion between the two of them. But anyways, these are some of the arguments that I could think of that makes this trio not look as cohesive as other trios. Mostly the amount of details and especially the proportions of their bodies. But that is just about their base forms anyway. I think it's unlikely that when they evolve, their final forms like converge design-wise, like they look more similar in a few elements together, which is probable, but I think it's very unlikely considering like the base forms are already so different. But for that, I think you'll have to wait and see. But I do have a theory about the final form of one of them. It's a bit of a stretch, but I think it has a little amount of plausibility actually. I think that we might have a clue of the final typing of Gekwa's final evolution based on its eye color. As I said, it's a bit of a stretch, but its pink eyes make me think of the Fairy, Ghost, Psychic, and even Poison type. But if I had to bet on one, I would say Fairy or Psychic. Like, we never had our Water Psychic Pokemon like as a starter, so it would be a very interesting thing to do. And also its vibe, it looks like a very pranky and smart Pokemon, so I think the Psychic type would be a very good call for it. Honestly, the worst case scenario is if none of them gets a secondary type, which is a disaster, and I'm looking at you, Gen8. You, how dare you? But again, that's all just a theory. We can do nothing but sit and wait and maybe wait for the leaks. Yeah? You know, you never know. But anyway, at the end of the day, we just gotta be patient. There's still a long way to go until 2027 comes around. And this is the final illustration. It is actually based on this one that I made many months ago, that I really enjoyed the style because it's very cozy and very cutesy, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do that again, the same style but with the starters of the new generation. Basically them just taking a nap. But one thing that actually changed in the Pokemon was Broud. I made it much fluffier like a newborn bird. It has much more of a cotton texture than actual feathers like Rowlet. I kind of already get this vibe when I look at the original Pokemon, but since this drawing is meant to be very cozy and very comfortable, I made it even fluffier. One choice that I constantly make when I'm drawing something that I don't want to be very close or attached to the original style is adding these triangles and sharp shapes, giving a lot of light and brightness to the piece. They are not very coherent, they are a very artistic choice, but aside looking very cool, I really like them because they add a lot of color and personality. I also use them to create a shape, like almost sculpting the drawing around it to show like highlighting the volume and the shapes to give more of like a three-dimensionality to the piece as a whole. Not that I wanted to make like full 3D, that wasn't my goal whatsoever, but it gives like a, I don't know how to say this, but like a more definition in a way. And I feel like it also allows me to go a bit crazy with the colors, like Brawl has green triangles, Ponton has both yellow, orange and red ones, and Gecko has like shades of blue and purple. That all of this doesn't necessarily match the light of the environment around it, but I think it makes it so much more beautiful. Almost it's like it's a magical lighting in a way. It's not getting the light from the environment, it's getting the light from the vibe of the Pokemon. In that case, the typing, like green, blue and yellow. For the background, I choose very light shades of blue and turquoise, because these are the colors of the new game. Turquoise for wind and blue for wave. I even tried to use those two colors to create the triangular shapes on the actual Pokemon, but neither the blue nor the green were going well with Pompon's orange fur. The colors were simply too different to go well together. So at the end I gave a particular light to each Pokemon. At the end, I would say I like this drawing. I'm not in love with it, like I didn't 100% love it, but I like it, I like it. I think my biggest issue were the colors, yes, like I just had a lot of issues like making them interact with each other in a satisfying way, unlike the previous drawing that I showed. Like I really enjoyed how the colors went together. This one was a bit more difficult, that make the journey a bit shaky in my opinion. But overall, I think it was a good drawing to bring up the conversation about the starters. Overall, I'm pretty excited about Gen 10, which is ironic because I don't even have a Switch. But what do you guys think of the new trio? And what do you guys think about this drawing? Tell me in the comments below and subscribe to help this little channel grow. I have many more Pokemon videos planned, so stay tuned. That's all for today, see you guys in the next video and bye!